They were debating about whether there was a heartbeat or there was no heartbeat. I would never have been able to rise from this. I would never have been able to come out of this. My husband is such that he's a very reserved person. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. Thank you for coming in to join us in this journey. I'd like to say that today is Sunday, and it was such a beautiful day today. I had a lovely time out with friends and family, even as we gathered together, and my spirit was indeed very lifted. So I decided that today would be the best day to film. Yeah. Before I go in there, I remember that I read in the comment section, one of my viewers was asking for the name of the facility where I had the IVF with all of the issues that I had around the second IVF circle. And I responded, yes. I don't know if a lot of us would have read and probably not have seen my response to that, but I decided to talk about that. The purpose of this channel is not to badmouth anyone or troll anyone or talk about any particular hospital. Um, so I'm not going to be mentioning names, specific names, either names of doctors or names of hospitals or stuff like that. I don't want that to be the focus here. The focus here is to build a community of women who have been through stuff, a community of families and men that will also want to be a part of this community as well. We'll be talking about a lot of things. We'll be having experts here from time to time. And also, next episode, I like to say that we'll have a very special person to me. She's going to be here with us for the next episode. As she shares her journey with us, I believe that we can all pick a thing or two, we can learn something. And so that will be the focus of this particular channel. It's going to be educational, it's going to be a place where we can come into and vent and talk and let it all out. And so I'm looking forward to a time where people send me their own stories, either to read out, or if you live in Abuja where I live, I could also fix up a day and come around. We meet up and we record your story. I would love to have you here. Thank you very much. And so going back to my story, after the second IVF circle, which was sometime in 2021, we decided to just take a break. We took a break from everything, practically everything, except from being alive, except from loving each other. Our story was one of those stories that we fall in the category of, people who did not have success via IVF. We took a break and we started to try, naturally to conceive. In another video, I'll also be sharing some of the natural things that I encountered while on this journey. So we're going to be learning a lot. Please stick with us in this channel and also invite other people that you know. So fast forward to February 2023, just a few months ago. I had a few days of not having my period, and I was wondering where it had gone to, because my period was like a clockwork. It was always there. It was right on time. It was right on time. It was never late. It was just always there. Sometimes it could go 2-3 days, a bit late or a bit early, but it was always there. When you've gotten used to something working with you or just living with you, like you cannot do anything about this thing. That's how I was And so when I didn't see it, I was wondering where it had gone to. And then by the time I hit 1 week, 1 full week late from my expected date of my circle, I knew that something had happened. And I did a home test, a home pregnancy test, and it was positive. And then we also had to get into the hospital to confirm by blood tests. Now, because of the circumstances surrounding the loss of the first pregnancy, we, had to be more deliberate. I had a gynecologist who was working with me from the moment I discovered I was pregnant, and I was like, this is it. And he was like, oh, go, run so and so tests. Let's start having early tests done so that the results can be followed through as the pregnancy progresses. And so I had a couple of tests to do, and I was placed on some medications immediately. And all of this was because there was a history, and so looking at history, we didn't want it to repeat a second time. And so we were doing things that we did not do in the first place. We're more attentive. I was more attentive to what I was eating, what I was doing. In fact, the doctor, the resident doctor, who was the doctor who I would be seeing through that pregnancy, just immediately placed me on bed rest. There was nothing wrong with me, but she was like, "Look, your age is not on your side. You're over 40 now, and so you must be more deliberate with what you're doing with this pregnancy." And so she told me to absolutely, absolutely take my feet off, do no work, and just and just see how my body is able to handle this pregnancy. So we, were not in and out of the hospital because there was anything wrong with me. We're in and out of the hospital because I had serial tests to do while the pregnancy was being monitored. I should have been in my 8th week, thereabouts, when I suddenly started spotting. And then it was in the middle of the night stroke, early hours of the morning. My husband had to rush me to the emergency. And as soon as we walked into the emergency, there was this anxiety that gripped me. There was this fear, like I've seen this before. Like I've seen this before, when you have a deja vu. And it felt like, oh God, not again. And then I decided to, just be strong, go through it, and believe that the worst was not happening. And so immediately I got to the emergency, and my resident doctor saw me. She went nuts. She was like, "I've told you to take it easy. I told you to rest. I told you this. I told you that." And I was like, I did everything I could do to the best of my abilities. I took care of myself. I was resting well. I was hardly working, and all of that. And she was like, "Oh well, so now you're in the hospital. We're not going to let you go. You're going to keep your feet up." So the first scan was done, and there was a debate about whether the heartbeat was normal or whether there was any heartbeat. There was something abnormal about the heartbeat, anyways. And myself and my husband, we had just been waiting to hear the heartbeat of this, baby that was growing on my inside. So, well, after all of that debate, I was given a bed. And then a few hours later, we had to go for another scan. And this time around, the consultant was on ground, and so he did everything, to locate that heartbeat. But something else caught his attention: the fact that I was far gone, and the scan was showing a smaller date. It was showing a smaller, a fewer weeks than, so it was showing 2 weeks less than I actually was at that time. and so that signaled that all was not well. Something was definitely going on, and then there was no heartbeat. He couldn't detect that. I did mention that the first scan that I had, which was about at 5 weeks, it showed that I had fibroids as well, 6 of them, not one, not two, not three, not four, 6 of them. And of the 6 of them, one was measuring about 6 point something cm by 6 point something cm. So that was like the biggest of all the fibroids. And it was actually the first thing that the probe picked before it could find the pregnancy. The fibroids were just there. I, who had had a previous surgery for fibroids, hearing that I had fibroids again and they were that size already, it was something that got to me. I don't know how long the fibroids were in there, because as at last year, the fibroid that was seen, and I thought it was just one, and it was almost negligible because it was less than 1 cm, and so it was even hardly mentioned. Fast forward to some months down the line, they saw 6 fibroids that were kind of sizable. Of course, the explanation for this medically is that the fibroids were growing as the pregnancy was also growing. Well, at the point where we were told there was no heartbeat once again, it was like reliving the first pregnancy all over. I was given an appointment to come back for a scan, which at the time the scan would be done would confirm whether we have a pregnancy that is ready to progress, a surviving pregnancy. And so the time of waiting, it felt like decades. I'm not gonna lie, it felt like decades. Every day I woke up, I'm like, have we reached the date? Is today the day for going to the hospital? And so you can just imagine having to go through all that again. And then we got back to the hospital on the day of the appointment. The scan was repeated, and it was confirmed that the pregnancy was no more thriving. Oh well, this time around was not as bad as the first time. The first time was heartbreaking, was nerve-wracking. It was too much for us. We could hardly deal with all of that. This time around, not because we were superhuman beings or whatever, but we just chose to stay on the positive side. We chose to hope. We chose to trust in the process that God was taking us through. And so, yes, it was painful. Yes, my body had gone through a lot and had to go through another. The only trouble I had was in here. I got pregnant, and I started to look forward to a time when we're gonna be getting maternity wears, all those long flowing gowns, big, stuff like that. I was already looking forward to that when the whole thing was done. I mean, when the pregnancy was completely evacuated. I had I had issues. I had issues. I couldn't think of going anywhere. In fact, I would hardly want to leave the room. Some days I wouldn't even know whether it is day or whether it is night. So outwardly, or to anyone who I spoke to over the phone or whoever came to the house, I seemed to be doing okay. Like, I would even make my husband feel like, oh, I'm fine and all of that. But inside me, it wasn't okay. I was so angry. The shift from, oh, I hope, I have so much hope and I have so much belief that all is well, all is fine, I'm going to get pregnant again. All of that was, evaporated when anger set in. I was angry. I was very upset. I I I almost gave up on a lot of things. Almost gave up on a lot of things. Now, I want to lay emphasis on the importance of people. I was surrounded with so much love and so much care. I had people who, visited, and even though they did not know all the right words to say, but they were just there. I was so encouraged because I just felt so blessed to have, all of these people surrounding me. One reason I'm pleading with everyone who is logging on and watching these videos, one reason I plead with you to share this video, share it widely, even when you think that somebody has a lot of children and so the person doesn't have any business with infertility. That person might know someone or might know several women dealing with infertility, and something that they pick from this series, from this channel, can help them. Years ago, my husband told me that he did not marry me because of the children I could have with him. He married me for me. He married me because he wanted to spend his life with me. It was me he chose. And when he said those words to me, I felt like I could conquer anything. I felt like nothing could stand in my way. I felt I could do anything because I had this man by my side. He made me feel so strong with those words. Those words imparted strength. If I'm to list, where my strength comes from, first and foremost of all, God. And then after God, you have my husband, and then every other person. For me, it's a journey that could be worse than it is if I did not have my man standing with me. You see, no woman should have to deal with trying to conceive without having a man by her side, without having a man going through every step of the emotions, without having her man there to hold her hands and support her. No woman should be left to do that alone. In this journey of trying to conceive, it's both the man and the woman. Whether it is a female factor that is responsible for the infertility or it's a male factor that is responsible for the infertility, irrespective. And you know what? Many times it's not the woman's fault, it's not the man's fault. Both of you are healthy. But as far as the different tests that we have in Nigeria, for both me and my husband, there's nothing wrong with any of us. We are fine. So who are you going to blame? Why are you looking for someone to put the fault on? Please go beyond that blame games and focus on the well-being of yourself, of your spouse, and of your marriage. Focus on a healthy relationship. Focus on a healthy home. Don't give room for negativity. And you women also, who maybe because you've discovered that it is your husband who's responsible for the infertility, and so because of that you want to take over and start to boss your husband around, that's so wrong. That's so wrong. You are in it together. You are both in it. What he feels, you feel. That's how it should be. This is marriage. It shouldn't, you shouldn't leave one person out there out in the cold without any encouragement. Please, let's all, come together and talk to ourselves and move ourselves away from this stigmatization that surrounds infertility. There's too much of it. It's a whole lot to deal with, and nobody should go through that alone. Like I said, in the next episode, we're going to have someone here with us who will share her story with us, who would let us in on her own journey. And I hope that we can all learn something. Like I said, this channel is meant to be educational as well as trying to build a community that supports women dealing with infertility. And so I'll wrap up by saying I'm wishing you all love, light, and endless possibilities. Keep going, keep pushing, keep pressing, keep keeping on. From me today, it is bye.